Karim Al-Mansour and Aisha Rahman. Two names that once whispered passion beneath Dubai's golden skyline, but ended up written in blood and betrayal. What started as a forbidden affair between power and temptation spiraled into a deadly obsession that shook the city's elite. Behind the designer suits and diamond smiles hid a truth darker than the desert night. A love story so twisted, it left only one of them alive to face the price of their sins. Dubai's glittering skyline shimmered against the desert night, hiding the secrets of those who lived beneath its golden glow, and among them was Karim Al-Mansour, a wealthy businessman in his late 50s whose life looked perfect from the outside. A loyal wife, 2 children studying abroad, a flourishing business empire, and a mansion that screamed success. Yet deep inside, Karim was restless, haunted by an emptiness money couldn't fill. That void found its cure one night at a luxurious corporate gala where champagne flowed like water and soft jazz echoed through the air. There he met Aisha Rahman, a young 25-year-old event planner with ambition burning in her eyes and charm that could melt steel. She was everything Karim's world lacked: bold, energetic, unpredictable. Their first conversation was brief but electric, and that small spark quickly turned into a wildfire neither expected. Over the following weeks, Karim found reasons to attend more events she organized, offering compliments and small gestures that soon evolved into late-night texts, private dinners, and secret drives along Jumeirah Beach. For Aisha, the attention felt intoxicating. She was drawn to his sophistication, his confidence, the way he made her feel powerful. Karim, in return, felt young again, reckless and alive. Their affair began discreetly: rented hotel rooms, fake meetings, whispers in dark corners. They told themselves it was just fun, a harmless escape from reality, but as the nights passed, their connection deepened into obsession. Karim was risking his reputation, his marriage, and his empire, yet he couldn't stop. Aisha became his secret addiction, one he knew could destroy him. Dubai was a city built on appearances, but beneath its perfection lay scandals waiting to be uncovered, and Karim's secret was about to become the one no money or power could keep buried forever. Karim's world began to shift the moment his affair with Aisha crossed the line between desire and danger, because what started as passion quickly turned into dependency. He began sneaking away from board meetings, lying to his wife about late business trips, and spending obscene amounts of money on Aisha: designer handbags, private villas, and expensive jewelry meant to buy both her love and her silence. But Aisha wasn't the naive girl she appeared to be. She knew exactly how powerful Karim was and how to use that to her advantage. Behind her soft smile hid ambition, and behind her charm lay calculation. She started pushing boundaries, asking for more: a better apartment, financial support, even hints at marriage once he left his wife. Karim brushed it off at first, but as the pressure built, guilt began eating him alive. His wife, Salma, started noticing the changes: secretive phone calls, strange perfume on his clothes, unexplained withdrawals from their joint account. Karim dismissed her suspicions with his usual composure, but the cracks were forming. Meanwhile, Aisha's circle of friends grew curious about her sudden lifestyle upgrade. Whispers spread around Dubai's social scene: an older married man, a secret love affair, and gifts that screamed scandal. Still, Aisha didn't care. She craved control, the thrill of having power over a man untouchable by most. Yet deep inside, she sensed Karim's growing paranoia. He became more possessive, jealous, and impulsive, accusing her of seeing someone else whenever she didn't answer his calls fast enough. Their romance turned toxic, fueled by lies and ego. Dubai's glittering skyline seemed smaller now, its lights dimmer, as Karim's double life began to suffocate him. Both were trapped in a love that was no longer beautiful. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and one wrong move away from total destruction. As weeks turned into months, Karim's once carefully balanced life began to spiral out of control, and his affair with Aisha took a darker turn than either could have imagined. What used to be stolen moments of passion now became tense encounters filled with arguments, jealousy, and manipulation. Karim grew obsessed with keeping Aisha all to himself, terrified that someone would discover their secret, while Aisha started to see through his promises of love and stability. She realized Karim would never leave his wife or risk his empire for her, and the thrill that once excited her turned into bitterness. To regain control, she began documenting their private moments, photos, voice recordings, and messages that could destroy Karim's perfect image in seconds. It wasn't about love anymore. It was about leverage. One night, after a heated argument at a luxury penthouse overlooking the marina, Karim stormed out, unaware that Aisha had sent copies of their photos to a hidden email account as backup. Fear consumed him as rumors started swirling in his social circle, and he suspected someone new. His wife had become distant, avoiding his touch, and his business partners questioned his sudden mood swings. Aisha, on the other hand, enjoyed watching him squirm under the pressure. She demanded more money, threatening to expose everything if he didn't comply. Karim's ego couldn't handle being controlled, and the thought of scandal terrified him more than anything. Their relationship had turned into a ticking time bomb, one that could explode at any moment. The man who once felt untouchable now found himself enslaved by his own desires, while the woman who once seemed powerless now held the key to his downfall. Beneath Dubai's shimmering skyline, their secret war had begun, one built on lust, fear, and revenge that could end only in tragedy. Karim's paranoia grew with every passing day as Aisha tightened her grip on him, turning their secret affair into a dangerous game of manipulation and control. And while he once held all the power, now it was Aisha pulling the strings. She started showing up unannounced at his office, calling him repeatedly, and leaving cryptic messages that made his heart race with fear. The tension between them had become unbearable. Karim was drowning in anxiety, terrified that his wife or one of his business rivals would find out, and that his name would end up splashed across Dubai's tabloids. Meanwhile, Aisha had grown colder, her eyes no longer soft with affection but sharp with calculation. She told herself she deserved everything she could get from him after all the lies he fed her, but deep down, part of her still felt attached to the man who once made her feel seen. One night, after Karim ignored her calls, Aisha showed up at his private villa, causing a scene at the gate that his guards tried desperately to contain. When Karim confronted her inside, the argument escalated into chaos. Voices rose, objects shattered, and years of suppressed guilt poured out in anger. Karim's rage boiled over as he accused her of trying to ruin him, while Aisha threw his betrayal back in his face, threatening to destroy everything he loved. The confrontation ended with Karim storming out, leaving Aisha trembling but defiant, vowing she wouldn't be silenced. That night, Karim couldn't sleep. The thought of his secret becoming public haunted him. He began plotting how to end the nightmare for good, convincing himself it was the only way to protect his reputation. What neither of them realized was that fate had already set the stage for something far darker, a night where obsession, power, and pride would lead to irreversible consequences hidden beneath Dubai's glittering lights. The night that changed everything arrived without warning. A humid Thursday evening when Dubai's skyline glowed in gold and silence filled Karim's penthouse like a ticking clock before disaster. He had invited Aisha over pretending he wanted to talk things out, but his real plan was far more sinister. Days of sleepless nights and constant fear had pushed him over the edge. His reputation, his marriage, his entire empire hung by a thread that Aisha controlled. When she entered the room, dressed in confidence and defiance, Karim's calm exterior masked the storm raging inside him. He offered her a drink, trying to fake civility, but she quickly saw through his act. The tension between them was unbearable. Aisha began taunting him, reminding him of his promises and laughing at his desperation. In that moment, something inside Karim snapped. The weight of shame, anger, and fear collided into uncontrollable fury. He lunged toward her, the argument escalating into chaos, furniture breaking, glass shattering across the marble floor. Aisha screamed, fighting back. But Karim's strength and rage overpowered her. In the heat of the struggle, a violent moment of madness took her life. Sudden, brutal, irreversible. When the silence returned, it was deafening. Karim stood over her lifeless body, shaking, realizing what he had done. The reality of his crime hit him like a punch to the chest. He tried to revive her, begged her to wake up, but it was too late. Panic took over as he looked around the blood-streaked room, trying to think, to plan, to erase what had just happened. The man who once lived above the law now stood in the middle of a nightmare of his own making, one that not even his money or power could buy him out of. The secret he tried so hard to protect had just destroyed everything. Karim's mind spiraled into chaos as he stared at Aisha's lifeless body sprawled across the cold marble floor, her once vibrant eyes now empty and still, and in that instant, every ounce of control he'd ever had in his life vanished. His hands trembled as he wiped the blood from his sleeves, pacing back and forth, heart pounding like thunder in his chest. Panic and disbelief tangled inside him, battling the reality that he had just killed the woman he once swore he couldn't live without. Every instinct told him to run, to call someone, to fix this, but how could he? He was one of Dubai's most respected businessmen, and a scandal like this would destroy his name, his family, and everything he'd built. He decided to cover his tracks, thinking he could outsmart fate like he had outsmarted everyone else. He wrapped her body in silk sheets, cleaned every surface, and doused the room with cologne to mask the metallic scent of blood. Then, under the cloak of darkness, he carried her out through a private elevator that led to the underground parking, his mind numb but his movements cold and calculated. He placed her body inside the trunk of his luxury car and drove into the desert outskirts of Dubai, where the city's glow faded into endless dunes. The air was dry and silent, only the sound of his breathing filling the night. He buried her beneath the sand, convincing himself no one would ever find her, that this secret would stay buried with her. But as he drove back toward the city, the weight of what he'd done pressed harder on his chest, every shadow on the road looking like her face, every whisper of the wind sounding like her voice. Karim thought he had buried his crime, but in truth, he had just buried his fate. Days turned into weeks, and Karim tried to return to his normal life, but nothing about him was normal anymore. Sleep escaped him, guilt gnawed at his sanity, and every corner of his mansion felt haunted by Aisha's presence. He'd stare at the skyline from his penthouse, the city lights flickering like judgmental eyes watching him from afar. At business meetings, he lost focus. At home, his wife noticed his growing paranoia, the trembling in his hands and the way he flinched at sudden sounds. He told himself he had covered his tracks perfectly, but fate had other plans. A construction crew working near the outskirts stumbled upon something unusual buried beneath the sand. A woman's body, wrapped in expensive silk, the kind only the rich could afford. Within hours, the Dubai police launched an investigation, the media catching wind of a mystery woman found dead in the desert. Karim's name wasn't mentioned yet, but fear took over his every thought. He avoided calls, skipped work, and locked himself in his study, drinking to silence the voices in his head. Days later, detectives knocked on his door, claiming they had questions about his connection to Aisha Rahman. Evidence had surfaced, hotel security footage, financial transactions, text messages that painted a damning picture. Karim tried to maintain his composure, insisting he didn't know her well, but his trembling voice gave him away. The walls of lies he'd built crumbled when forensic tests matched fibers from his penthouse rug to the silk wrapping Aisha's body. The empire he built on power and pride collapsed overnight. Headlines screamed across every news outlet, and Karim was arrested, his photo plastered everywhere, the mighty businessman now exposed as a murderer. In the end, his affair didn't just destroy his life, it revealed the darkest truth about him, that beneath all the wealth, influence, and luxury, he was just another man undone by his own sin.